Greetings. This is Top Hat and Buttered Popcorn. My name is John Savers. I'm your host. And today we'll take a look at a couple of films, beginning with The Bicycle Thief. This film was released in 1948. It was directed by Vittorio De Sica, based on a novel by Luigi Bartolini. It stars Lamberto Maggiorani as Antonio, Enzo Staiola as his son Bruno, Leonella Carroll as the wife Maria, and a rather tight cast of skillful actors. The thief in the movie is played, by the way, by Vittorio Antonucci. This is a black and white film, and it is a rather simple film, and it has a nice kind of lesson in it. It's thoroughly child-proof. It would be a good family type of film to see. It basically is post-war, World War II. Italy, and the locale appears to be North Italy. The film actually opens up with people lined up outside a sort of official building or governmental type building, and it was from this particular building that an official would come out and choose people for work. And the name of Antonio Ricci was called out. One of the men knew who he was and kind of forced his way through the crowd backwards and found Antonio sort of dozing some distance away, and said, "Wake up, what are you sleeping for? There's work." So he did get him roused. He goes forward. He's anxious to get the job. And I will say that Lamberto Maggiorani really was excellent in this particular film. And Enzo, as his son Bruno, I think executed one of the best of the child actor roles I've seen. And it was kind of a fun also, being it is Italy, of indulging a little bit in the mannerisms that Italians favor. At any rate, the character Antonio Ricci makes his way to the front, identifies himself. He has been accorded a kind of there's a certain departmental quality to the handing out of jobs. And if you were listed as, for instance, a carpenter, you could not get a job as a painter, for instance. It was this sort of situation which brought the job to Antonio Ricci. He was listed as a poster hanger, and that is what the job was. When he got the paperwork for it, he was told he would have to have a bicycle. Did he have a bicycle? He said, well, yes, but it's in the shop. I don't have it right now. He said, well, you'll have to have it for work. If you don't have it, then you can't have the job. Do you have the bicycle or don't you? He said, well, yes, I have it. So he gets the paperwork, and so he goes off. He meets his wife. He's very happy about that. She's kind of pulling some heavy buckets of water, and he kind of helps and tells her about the new job, and they're very happy about that. They have 2 children, and of course the prospects of the income are very favorable to them, very desirable. It should be kept in mind that in this period in Italy, jobs were not all that abundant. There was a good deal of reconstruction and plenty of difficulties in making a living. The star here, Antonio Ricci, stops by the place where he will work. He gets some more information and some materials in regard to the work, perhaps a hat and some materials to be used. He does go on back to the house, and his wife is there, and she sees the hat and all that, you know, and how proud he is to have the job and whatnot. But he has to have a bicycle, and he doesn't have it because it's in the repair shop. Well, she makes the decision to sell their linen. She removes the sheets from the bed and what they have, and takes it to what amounts to a pawn shop, I suppose, and is able to get just enough money from the merchant to cover the cost of the bicycle and to gain back the bicycle. There is, I think, in this particular episode, a cutting error, because we see Antonio Ricci sort of watching. You could see that the man taking the bundle of sheets, and he goes back, and there are shelves and shelves of bundles of sheets that people have sold or pawned, and he is so that locale, that look is pretty apparent. He gets to the repair shop, he gets his bicycle, and there's just a brief moment where you see him kind of apparently looking at a man scampering up about 4 shelves of bundles of sheets. So it looks like this scene that should have been with the pawn shop episode had somehow gotten placed in the bicycle repair shop scene. It could be said that he was simply, while he was awaiting his bicycle, reflecting back on the previous scene, but I don't buy that. I think that there was some sort of error in the editing of this. I doubt that occurred in the original film, but it may have. So even a very good film is not necessarily perfectly made. Now, they do get the bicycle. Antonio kind of bicycles his wife, who kind of sits on the handlebar of the bicycle, and they drive back. Along the way, she wants to stop at the place of a woman who is reputed to be gifted, whether or not she is thought to be saintly or to be touched by the heavens in her prophecies and so forth. She makes a pretty good living, apparently, by advising members of this town or city that of what is going to occur in their lives. And because this woman had told her that her husband was going to get a job, and it did in fact happen, she wants to stop by and I think give her money and possibly even see if there's other good news. Her husband, Antonio, is thinking she's nuts to be going over there and wasting her time and whatnot. We see him set his bicycle on the wall, and go up. And given the thought, the title of the film and so forth, you begin to think that this is the point at which the bicycle might be snatched, but it's not, and they get back and go on home. The next day, they set out. The son, Bruno, also seems to have a little job working as sort of an apprentice at a gas service station, and he has a little uniform too. And they have a little daughter, maybe not even a year old, I'm not quite sure, back at the homestead. But anyway, they're all very positive and happy because Antonio has this job. And not only does he have the job, but it seems to be a relatively well-paying job. And they're just thinking that this is just going to make their lives all that much more easy. Maybe they can even move to a better place, more room, and all sorts of things, which would appeal to a young couple. At any rate, he sets out, he drives his son over to the service station, lets him off, tells him, meet me here at 7 o'clock, I'll pick you up. And then he goes on off to do his first day. He meets up with one of the other guys at the shop who kind of gives him a showing of procedure on one of the posters, how it's done and whatnot, and some guidelines, and then goes on off, and Antonio then takes over. He rose up to a position and starts doing a job. He does not look like he's real skillful at it, but he does manage to get it done. And it's at this location that we begin to see the character that is played by Vittorio Antonucci. That is the thief. He has a German hat, kind of a woolen cap on his head. And you can see him kind of sneaking up, and he's like a predator. If you've ever seen one of those nature films where lions are sneaking up on wildebeest, you get something of an idea of this guy's approach to that bicycle once he saw it. So he creeps up to it. Antonio is busy, he's focused on his work, and suddenly this guy pounces on the bicycle and starts driving it away, riding it away. Well, Antonio sees him, starts running after him, crying, "Thief, thief, stop him, stop him," and does in fact commandeer get an automobile driver to help out, plus there's a witness, and they all go pursuing the lad on the bicycle. I would say he's about 17, 18, something like this. But at any rate, the guy loses them. They don't find him. They go off on a wrong track and so forth. Antonio is very bummed out about the whole deal because if he loses his bicycle, he'll surely lose his job. He can't afford to buy another. There's no other resources for it. It's exceedingly important that he be able to get his bicycle back. And the remainder of the film is Antonio's chase after the thief and his attempt at regaining his bicycle to once more restore a rosy future to his family. He tries and tries, but has no luck. And finally, about 7:30, he shows up on a bus to pick up his son Bruno, who's kind of wondering what happened and where's the bicycle. And so they go off and they're vowing to find it, but they have to walk home. Antonio gets in touch with a friend who appears to have a role as an amateur actor, singer, entertainer, and whose actual job is picking up, driving a trash truck and leading a kind of a team of two others. He agrees to help Antonio and assures Maria that they will get the bicycle, that a thief will certainly try to take the bicycle over to the bicycle area of a bazaar and sell it as quickly as possible. Antonio had taken the time to stop by the police, but although he did leave a report about the theft of the bicycle, he got little in the way of actual help, and the police, of course, had many other things they thought more important to do than try to track down a guy who had stolen the bicycle. So hopeful that the bicycle will be discovered, even if chopped, at this particular location, and that since it's registered with the police, he would be able to reobtain the parts and put it back together and so forth, or hopefully the whole thing. But to make a long story short, this episode failed. There is a march to others and so forth. It just looked like a lost weekend, and he almost is without hope about it. He suddenly, however, sees the thief on the bicycle talking to an old man some 50 yards away from him. He sees the guy sees him and starts riding off, and Antonio is chasing after him. Thief, stop him, stop him. When he comes to the older man, he says, "Where does that man live? Tell me where he lives." And the old man said, "Well, I don't know him, really. I don't know his name. I don't know, and I think he may live here, but I'm not sure." Well, a good deal of Antonio's effort after, once again, the thief pedaling away and evading him, much of his effort is pointed at this old man, and to get the old man to tell him exactly where this guy lived, so Antonio could go and confront him at his home, where presumably maybe the bicycle was. Now, the old man was anything but cooperative. He didn't want to have anything to do with this. Plus, this leads to an episode because of going to a church charity. And Antonio, increasingly desperate, is making kind of a ruckus anywhere he goes. It's kind of interesting to see his son Bruno checking out his father in action. And on the one hand, he's a very loyal kid. On the other, he's on the alert to capture the thief. And lastly, he's maybe a little concerned about his dad and whatnot. Plus, he's a little tired because he's been walking all over the place. But he's a little trooper, and the church thing turns into a fiasco also, and he loses the old man briefly, but was able to once again confront him, and he does get at least a street and an approximate number. He may be at number 16 or something on this particular street. Well, they go, and things don't look too promising, and they're getting frustrated. Antonio just is kind of thinking it's hopeless. He has a little money in his pocket right now, and he suddenly turns to Bruno and said, "Would you like a pizza?" And Bruno, who has been kind of sulking since his father jumped on him some time back, which he thought was undeserved, including a slap, kind of perked up, and so they go to this restaurant. It turns out not to be a pizza place, but a little bit more formal. They had a little three-piece band singing, and there was this very amusing deal in the sense of Antonio and Bruno at one table and talking about food and checking it out and so forth. Right next to them, a rather well-to-do group that included a boy who was making it a principle of eating to demonstrate his fine food and cheese before Bruno. Even so, Antonio decides that he will go to the street, and he does. And as he does so, he sees the bicycle thief. He's walking, however, and so he kind of chases after him, and the guy runs into this house, which turns out to be a bordello. And the women are very decently, modestly dressed, so to speak, and this is a fine house, and how dare you, it's not time, we're not open, and so forth. Well, there's a whole kind of a hullabaloo, and in the process, the thief got away, but we find Antonio at the address. He finally catches this guy. There's a big to-do. Neighbors, neighborhood men from this area come in. There's a kind of a protectiveness. This is our street. This is our group. What are you doing? You're an intruder. What are you putting your hands on one of our people and all this? So you have almost like a turf situation coming on here, which was more important than right or wrong. They claim that he has no proof. He has a hard time of adducing any witnesses or any proof. It's his word against the other. He knows it. The viewer knows it. The thief knows it. Everybody knows it, but all these people who are neighbors to him. He denies everything, that is, the thief, and then suddenly, either for real or not, has a fit and falls down on the ground. And then they accuse Antonio Ricci of causing the boy to have this fit, and what kind of a man is he, and so forth like this. And there's some very amusing interactions and so forth. Plus, the mother of the boy is there, and she's wailing and saying he has a clean record, or why don't you leave him alone, and so forth. Police are finally brought by Bruno, who then kind of checks out the situation, and when he learns from Antonio about the accusation of a bicycle theft, they go inside the home of this family, and it's just a one-room deal, and no bicycle. So when it's all said and done, Antonio did not get his bicycle, and he did not get satisfaction. Plus, from all of this frustration and anger and so forth, he is also made to be the villain by these neighborhood guys who kind of like, don't you come back to this area and stuff like this. And he's growling back too, and it has a comical aspect. So they go forth, and he and Bruno, and it looks like Antonio has been defeated. He's lost his bicycle. It looks like he's not going to get it back. He does not really know what to turn, where to turn. Not too far away, perhaps a quarter of a mile, is kind of an arena where a soccer game is being played. You can hear the yelling and stuff like this. All around the area are bicycles which are parked and so forth. And Antonio looks at them with a good deal of envy and so forth. He turns and he sees this street. It's vacated, no one around at all, and he sees this bicycle leaning against the wall. It just sticks in his mind. He keeps on looking. He hears the sounds over there. He sees all these bicycles. He sees all these happy people. He knows what having a job and having the income would be for his family. He finally gives a little money to Bruno. He says to take a trolley car, a bus, to such and such a street. Wait for me. He then tries to get his son onto the thing. The son actually misses the bus. But Antonio then walks on over toward where this isolated bicycle is. He kind of creeps up to it, and when it looks like the coast is clear, he jumps on it. And he has barely gotten 5 feet away when a man comes roaring out of the door, "Thief, thief, you stole my bicycle." Antonio tries to pedal away, but he is being pursued by several men, angry, crying, "Thief," and stuff like this. Bruno, I think, sees most of this. And they finally chase him down and pull him off and stuff like this, and they hold him for the police, and they're saying shame and stuff like this. What do you mean stealing, this? And of course, Antonio Ricci is just mortified, so embarrassed and humiliated and defeated almost. However, the owner of the bicycle, these men who are holding want the police to be called to take this thief off. But the owner comes up and he sees Bruno, and he kind of puts one and one together. And he says, "Let him go." He has a certain degree of compassion. He said, "Let the man go. I have the bicycle." So they do, and as they do, they kind of push him a bit and stuff like this, and shame, and don't come back around here. And what you would do before your son is just disgraceful, and all this kind of stuff. So there he was, alone again with this humiliation with his son. His son has been witness to it, and so forth. And they start the long walk back home under these circumstances, which have been very frustrating, and a new understanding, so to speak, has come upon the both of them. Well, that's it, folks. A wrap. We're out of time again. This is Top Hat and Buttered Popcorn. My name is John Savers. I'm your host. I do appreciate your tuning in. Hope to see you again at our next Top Hat and Buttered Popcorn.